On NBC, and today the St. Louis Cardinals can move 5.5 games up on the Mets in the National League East as the Cardinals take on Montreal. The Expos trying to keep St. Louis from their 8th straight win. 4 from Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, the New York Mets, who lost again last night. They dropped 4.5 games back, will try again against the Pirates, who, playing the part of spoiler, scored 6 runs in the third to win 8-7. But up first, NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball. An inside look at baseball and a preview of today's game of the week. Brought to you by Miller Beer. Miller made the American way since 1855. And by Quaker State. The Big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. You are looking at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Canada, where today the St. Louis Cardinals can take a big step toward the title in the National League East. Hello, everyone. I'm Bill McAtee. You already know the Mets lost last night. The Cardinals and Expos were rained out by the remnants of Hurricane Gloria. So the Cardinals' magic number is 5. They come in today with a 4.5 game lead. The tightest race in baseball, though, is out west in the American League. Both Kansas City and California are playing this afternoon. California right now leads Cleveland by a score of 3-0. The Royals have lost. Here's Len Berman.
Dick Hauser and the Royals faced an 11 o'clock start this morning in the Metrodome, but the Twins got the first wake-up call. Mickey Hatcher drives it into the right field corner. Kirby Puckett comes around to score, and while Darryl Motley chases it down in right field, Hatcher comes around with a triple, and the Twins are quickly ahead 1-0. Now bottom of the second inning, Minnesota catcher Dave Engel, and he drills a home run to left off Kansas City pitcher Danny Jackson. And the Twins now led by a score of 3-0. But the Royals came back. Top of the 6th inning, George Orta hits a home run off of Dennis Burt. A 2-run shot, scoring George Brett in front of him. And the Twins' lead was cut to 3-2. But Ron Davis on for the Twins, 9th inning. Minnesota head 5-3. You see the disconsolate Kansas City dugout. 2 outs, Jamie Quirk hits a fly ball to center field. Kirby Puckett puts it away, and Minnesota won it 5-3. So the Angels, if they beat Cleveland, will lead by 1 full game. Bill?
Okay, thank you very much, Lenny. We are now joined by Whitey Herzog, and we want to talk a bit about the race in the National League East, which has opened up a little bit recently. You made some comments a couple of weeks ago in the Mets series that now seem prophetic. You said it's not really important what happens in this series. It is important but not crucial. What's important is what happens right after that, and those words have turned out to be pretty accurate.
Well, what I was trying to say, Bill, was I knew that we were going into New York as a sort of a long road trip at the time. Then we had to go to Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Philly. And I was worried that if things didn't work out in New York, or even if we played well, maybe swept 3 ball games, that we would have a letdown after that. And that was what I was trying to keep from avoiding. Well, we played the Mets 3 really good games. We both played good baseball. It was 3 one-run ball games. We won 1, they won 2. They could have won 3, we could have won 3. That's how close the games were. But we went into Chicago then and played well, and I think we won 7 straight after that. And that kind of turned around a little bit. And it isn't that the Mets have not been playing good baseball. We've just been kind of lucky. We've come kind of from behind a few ball games. And
you can't lose a 1-run game, can you?
Well, we haven't. Don't say that. We still got 9 games left, and it's still a long way to go. And we got a big series coming up in home, but right now we got a big doubleheader today.
With a little breathing room, does that alter how you manage down the stretch, especially when you get close to playoff time?
No, not breathing room. You really won't manage any different until you clinch it or until the race is over. The big thing is if it goes right down the last day, you can't set up anything for the playoffs, and sometimes you don't have your pitching rotation in the way you might not like it.
Whitey Herzog, thank you very much.
Nice talking to you, Bill.
Good luck today. Okay, we'll return to Montreal. A few words from the commissioner, Peter Ueberroth. We'll be back right after these messages. We are back now in Montreal, and one quick note. You may have read this morning where Whitey Herzog was quoted as saying a chief source for drugs in baseball 2 and 3 years ago was here in Montreal. Whitey says he was quoted off the record, refused comment, and we respected his wishes. And while drug stories continue to unfold in baseball, Commissioner Peter Ueberroth continues to push for voluntary drug testing. He'd like to see a plan now by the World Series.
What better to restore confidence in the fans in this country than the players themselves saying enough is enough to drugs? The players have the courage to do that in a program that guarantees confidentiality and no penalties. They've made a wise decision. If they don't make the decision in that direction, which most people predict will happen, I think that's going to be a failure. But I'm much more I think it's incumbent upon his commissioner to take the risk of allowing them the opportunity to protect themselves in the game they care about than just acting in an arbitrary manner.
Baseball Commissioner Peter Ubroth. In general, the players have been receptive to the idea, but they would like to see the plan go through the Players Association. Well, one part of baseball that remains untouched by scandal and probably always will be so is the pursuit of collecting baseball cards. Here's a kid who loves to collect them, Joe Garagiola.
When I was growing up, I saved the bubblegum cards. I think everybody saved the bubblegum cards. I took a survey of the Cardinals seated out here, and most of them did. Here's some that I brought from my own collection. This one's from the 33 Goudies. In fact, I just completed my set. Took me a couple years. That's Marty McManus. Why did I save him especially? Played for the St. Louis Browns. Here was one of our favorites, Frankie Frisch. He was the manager of the Gas House Gang, the old Fordham Flash. We loved him. Boy, here was a card that was hard to get. Why? Frankie Frisch right there, Dizzy Dean right there, and in my old neighborhood, the Hill, Ernie Arsaudi, of course, and Tex Carlton. What a pitcher he was. I even get autographs. Dick Bartell. Giant fans will remember him. And how about Bill Dickey? He may be in Arkansas watching this right now. And Ted Lyons, what a pitcher he was. All from the 33 Goudy. And here was my all-time favorite. Why? Ducky Joe Medwick. We used to sit in the knothole gang in left field, and he was the left field, and he was our guy. How much of a collector am I? Right now I'm working on these, the T206s in the turn of the century. See this guy right, let's see, over here, Ed Walsh, big Ed Walsh. And the fellow on the end, the other end, you'll recognize him, Ty Cobb, T206s. Well, that's all well and good, because now there's a sensational book out called Topps Baseball Cards. It's got every card ever printed by Topps, over 21,000 of them, and I don't care where you look, you're going to find a player, just pages and pages. I tell you what I did, I looked for mistakes. You can have fun doing that. Let me just show you what I mean by mistakes. Sometimes the fellas have some fun with the photographers. Here's Henry Aaron batting left-handed. I imagine a lot of pitchers would have voted for that. He's right here. Look at Henry batting left-handed. Okay? And Lou Burdette, he was always fooling around, too. Burdette is somewhere in here, pitching left. Here he is, right there, pitching left-handed. I don't care where you look in this book, you're going to find a bubblegum card of your favorite player. It'll jar your memory. Every time I open it up, I see a guy and I think of a story. 21,000 cards. They have a history of every guy, his record. And all you have to do is just flip it open. And you can watch a guy grow up. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a poster of Willie Mays. Every card of Willie Mays. In fact, we have a little history of some guys growing up that we're going to show you right now. You recognize Pete Rose as a rookie. And there he is again. I'll tell you how interesting this book is. I got about 7 Cardinals surrounded around me looking at this. There's Whitey Herzog as a player. Boy, does he look young. Davy Johnson. You recognize that fella? Ball players are laughing. They'd like to pitch to him. There's Gary Pettis, his younger brother. He fooled a photographer, Gary Pettis did, saying, take a picture of him. You don't think these guys aren't interested in this? They're looking for their own picture. The name of the book, Topps Baseball Cards. It's sensational. Open it any page and your memory just runs wild. You'll love it. I know I do. We'll be right back after these messages.
Bill McAtee back now in Montreal. They are the no-names, once the joke of Major League Baseball. Well, they're tucked away from the glare of the media, so you probably haven't heard of a lot of them, at least not like you have the big teams like the Yankees. They are the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's Lynn Berman.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Many fans mistakenly think that's fairly new at baseball games. Many American fans have the impression that Canadian baseball is merely a Johnny-come-lately, an oddity, unknown players, bad weather, and butchered lyrics.
What? I need the words.
There's a lot about baseball here in Toronto you're probably not aware of. For example, did you know that Babe Ruth hit his first professional home run right here in Toronto in 1914. He was playing for the Providence Grays against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And there's more. Many Toronto minor leaguers became Hall of Famers, like Charlie Gehringer, Carl Hubble, and Ralph Kiner. 1978 Cy Young Award winner Sparky Lyle played in Toronto. Both of last year's World Series managers, Sparky Anderson and Dick Williams, wore Maple Leaf uniforms. There's a Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And they claim Canadian baseball may even predate Abner Doubleday.
They claim that in 1839 there was a baseball game played in Cooperstown. We have it documented that in 1838, 1 year before, there was a game played in Beachville, Ontario. So, therefore, baseball is coming on 150 years. It's a long time.
There it is, the first pitch in Blue Jay history. It's a strike for the...
It took a committed group of Toronto civic leaders to convince Major League Baseball that the team could flourish here, but flourish is one thing.
Well, I really didn't think it would happen so quickly. It was sort of an impossible dream. Even getting the baseball team seemed to be an impossible dream. We tried for 8 years. Now, about 8 or 9 years later, we're on top of the baseball world. The whole city has gone crazy about baseball.
While pennant fever may be boiling today, it took Blue Jays fans quite a while to catch on.
It would just react almost like a cricket match. In some ways, Blue Jay would get a base hit to start off an inning, and they'd clap and then settle back and wait for something else to happen.
We'd have a rally going in the 9th inning or something, and there would be no noise at all going. Now, they're very excited. They get into the game.
These people have just been going crazy over the club, and it's just been a tremendous change in the city and the way people accept us, and it's been a lot of fun.
But baseball has created a burning fever in them, and now they're yelling it out. We're the best in the baseball world, and it's given Torontonians and Canadians a new pride.
Of course the Blue Jays are going all the way this year. Don't you? We're Blue Jay fans, love.
You're damn right. All the way.
And while an apparent division crown is delicious to the fans, the fact they beat the Yankees is icing on their cake. There's a whole new breed of Yankee haters north of the border. Some of that may stem from Dave Winfield's encounter with a seagull a couple of years back when Winfield was hauled into court. So now in the newspapers, such questions are posed. If the Blue Jays win it all, does Ronald Reagan call first or the Canadian Prime Minister? And then there's this from one fan: kill our seagulls, butcher our anthem, but when we left New York, all we left was George's tantrum. So the fans are ready, and so are the tickets. Len Berman, waiting for the first possible Canadian-American World Series in Toronto.
Okay, thank you very much, Lenny. You know, there's concern about cold weather in Toronto. Surveys have shown that it will be chilly but not actually freezing, and it's actually colder in Milwaukee and Minnesota. Stay with us now. Baseball's coming up next, depending on where you are. Some of you will be with us here in Montreal for the Cardinals and the Expos. The rest of you will see the Mets and the Pirates. Settle in. Baseball's next on NBC.
Their names are legend: Peppa Martin, Joe Medwick, Frankie Frisch, and the Dean brothers. The St. Louis Cardinal Gas House Gang that defeated Detroit in the World Series. Now the 1985 Cardinals, and their names are prominently displayed. Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Tommy Herr and Jack Clark. And they, too, have a date in October coming up.
Sports presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today, from Olympic Stadium, it's the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Montreal Expos. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Ford, who invites you to drive the new Ford Aerostar. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Beer. Miller made the American way since 1855. By NCR, who bring you a better personal computer. And by Honda All-Terrain Vehicles, inventors of the ATC three-wheeler and Four-Trax four-wheeler.
A beautiful day in Montreal, Canada. Welcome to Olympic Stadium in Montreal, where the visiting St. Louis Cardinals will face the home team, the Montreal Expos. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. The magic number is 5 everywhere you look. For the Dodgers to turn it in their division, for Toronto to do it in the American League, and, of course, in the National League East. High 5 for the St. Louis Cardinals. But they've got a doubleheader today, so Gloria threw a curveball at him yesterday.
It did, but, you know, when you're battling like they are, doubleheaders, it almost means like we can get it over sooner. We can clinch it sooner. I think maybe a month ago they would have said, oh, what a lousy break doubleheader. But I don't think it's a factor at all, because they are really fired up, the Cardinals are.
And to give you an idea what it's like in New York, there's a feature story in the New York paper today talking all about how the St. Louis Cardinals will fare against the Los Angeles Dodgers in the League Championship Series. That's just a New York way of writing off the Mets.
I'm sure the Mets appreciate that.
Well, luckily they're on the road in Pittsburgh. They don't have to read it. We'll get to the starting lineups for the Cardinals and the Montreal Expos. We'll have a lot more coming up right after this. In Montreal, I guess you could sum up the weather sic transit Gloria, because despite the rain and some winds last night, Gloria evidently is history, and the weatherman has given us a beautiful day here in La Belle Provence, Quebec, Montreal. And for the visiting St. Louis Cardinals, a rather important 3-game series jammed into 2 days. A doubleheader today, and heading for the mound, Bill Gullickson from Montreal. Here are the Cardinals, the way they'll stack up against him. Vince Coleman in left field, and Willie McGee, the league's top hitter in center. Tommy Herr, the big RBI man at second base. Darrell Porter in the cleanup spot. Jack Clark is still out with the sore ribs. Andy Van Slyke in right field. Terry Pendleton at third base. Mike Jorgensen at first, a resting Cedeno. Ozzie Smith, the shortstop. And on the mound, the 21-game winner, Joaquin Andujar.
Defensively, Montreal will have Raines in left field. Webster is in center field. Dawson is in right field. Good defense. In the infield, Wallach, Hubie Brooks, Vance Law, Tito Francona is at first base. Sal Butera is the catcher. Might just point out that the artificial surface here is still a bit wet, so the ball really skips and skids when it hits. The line drives, maybe scooting through there unless that outfielder can cut off the gaps. Infielders, I think, will be playing a little bit deeper than normal because of the wetness of the artificial surface.
You look at Bill Gullickson's number. The last time we saw him was last Saturday. He went 5 innings plus and was charged with 4 runs. He was not involved in a decision that saw the Cardinals come from behind and beat Montreal 7-6. He is 1-1 with St. Louis this year, 6-9 lifetime. He lost to Forsch. He beat Danny Cox, and then no decision in the Tudor game. Bill Gullickson trying to stop the Cardinal Express, and the Cardinals are about to give the New York Mets a dubious distinction unless the Mets rally and win the East, and it appears more doubtful each day. They will then become, the Mets will become the first team since the 1979 and 1980 Montreal Expos to win 90 games in successive years and not finish first either year.
That's some distinction. Gullickson doesn't have any trick pitches. You'll see a fastball, overhand curveball, pretty good control. Curveball's a big overhand curveball, changes speeds. So it should be a dandy with the Jackrabbits that the Cardinals have with Coleman, McGee, and the rest of them.
Looking at the schedule for the St. Louis Cardinals, today and tomorrow, their last 2 days on the road. They then will go home and play the remaining 6. They have 3 with the Mets starting October 1, 2, and 3. And they'll finish up at home with the Cubs on October 4, 5, and 6. Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr in that order. Interesting that Vince Coleman, with over 100 stolen bases, will lead it off. the first player to bat in a major league game in Canada against Montreal way back in 1969 was another speed merchant in a St. Louis Cardinal uniform by the name of Lou Brock.
You can see what effect speed has. Third baseman Wallach is in, and you saw Gullickson warn Wallach, move in, move in. They just break your concentration. Speed will do that.
0-1 the count to Vince Coleman. Check swing foul. 0-2 the count to Coleman. Vince, a switch hitter, batting .271, and if you look at his numbers, you see that the bulk of his hitting, his best numbers, come as a left-handed batter, hitting .285 from this side of the plate. Ground ball to the right side, hard, plugged up by Van Slaw to get him. One away. When we last saw the Cardinals, you remember that Jack Clark came up in the 7th inning with Tommy Herr aboard, checked his swing, had a full swing, hurt his ribs, still was able to swing the bat, and he hit a 2-run home run in the 7th inning to give the Cardinals a 7-6 victory. He is hurting. He re-injured those ribs, and it's just a question as to when he'll be able to play.
In talking to him, he simply says they don't need me. The club is winning, so I can get this rest. If we can keep winning, I can keep resting it and maybe get ready for postseason play.
Willie McGee, consistency thou art a jewel, the league's top hitter. McGee, as he checks in, hitting .359, and to show you he hasn't let up, in his last 17 games, he's hit .360. Foul back. 1-2. The count to McGee with 1 out in the first inning, just starting out, no score.
I can't imagine an organization having Mattingly and McGee, same ball club.
Unbelievable.
And then McGee, you talk about missing on somebody. The Yankees did.
For Bob Sykes. The pitch outside. Ball 2, 2-2. In fact, again, to reiterate the point, the only time Don Mattingly in his brilliant career did not lead his minor league team in hitting was the year he was a teammate of Willie McGee. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Foul tipped and held. So that's one way to quiet the Cardinals. And of course, Gullickson now has 2 out, and the Rabbits are back in the warren.
Inside, he got a good fastball inside. McGee just didn't get it. Good pitch by Gullickson.
So with 2 out in the first inning, here is Tommy Herr. Herr, of course, has had a remarkable year, 105 RBIs with only 7 home runs. The last man to have 100 ribbies and 10 home runs or less, George Kell. And he's been on base almost every game. He has only missed 18 games of 151 where he failed to reach either by hit or walk. Remarkable record.
You know, you saw Willie McGee run back. He almost looks embarrassed when he runs back. And they say he gets such a sad look. Bob Force says, man, if he does that on a strikeout, I wonder what he does at funerals.
I would like to see him strike out against Sandy Koufax. Not that you could do that, but when Koufax, I saw Koufax strike out the side, and he would walk off the field as if he had done something wrong.
That's McGee.
Yeah. They'd make a great combination, wouldn't it? 2-1, the count to Tommy Herr. 2 down in the first inning. By the way, the Cardinals have had a very bad time. The Expos have beaten them 9 out of 15, and 5 of the 6 times played here at Olympic Stadium for one reason or another. 2-2. Of course, visiting players have always said it is tough to pick up the ball here.
Well, I'll tell you, Gullickson really fired that one. That was the hardest ball he's thrown so far. Now it'd be interesting to see if he goes the same spot he did on McGee. He's got a 2-2 count and go inside.
Remember last week all those big, slow overhand curveballs he threw?
They told him where to put that slow curveball so far.
2-2. And it's heat, but a fastball high, ball 3. 3-2.
Butera really moving around behind that plate. You would think he was going to go inside, but you can see he's set up outside, so that ball must really be moving.
Herr's done a pretty good number against Gully so far this year. He's had 9 at-bats, and he's collected 4 hits against him. 3-2. And he walks him. So the 2-out pass to Tommy Herr will bring up Darrell Porter.
Just to give you a dimension as you watch the game, Butera put down the 2 as a curveball. He shook him off. He put down the 1 and pointed to the inside part of his leg, which meant fastball inside. The second move that he made was an indication of where he wanted the ball. And during the course of the ball game, you'll be getting flashes like that. Signs aren't that difficult. Same ones we used on the playground.
Well, here's Darrell Porter hitting in the number 4 slot with both Jack Clark and Cesar Cedeno sitting down. They get his left-handed bat in there.
Not to belabor the point, but for example, that particular time you saw a fastball go to the left leg, it was fastball the outside part of the plate. Now you're on your own.
They'll keep an eye on. I'm going to watch it. Tommy Herr does everything well, including steal. He's stolen 30 bases and only been caught 3 times. So they'll watch him while they work on Porter. In there. Bob Davidson, the plate umpire. John Kibler at first. Songwriter Dick Stello is the umpire at second, and Bruce Fremming at third.
You've got to tell the fans the names of those songs from an umpire.
I will. 1-1. Check swing ball 2. Dick Stello, the second base umpire, has written 2 songs for a singer on battleground music. There's Dick. The titles are The Sweet Times We Loved Each Other, and the other song is There Will Be a Big Change in Me.
I certainly hope so.
So you see, underneath that cold, hard exterior beats a heart of stone. No, a warm heart. Dick Stello. 2-1. Ground ball, big chopper to Francona. He'll go to the bag, and that will do it. Tommy Herr is left aboard. And at the end of half an inning, with songwriting amidst the air in Montreal, the Cardinals nothing, and the Expos coming up. The Expos, here's the way they stack up, and they could have beaten the Cardinals perhaps 3 in a row last weekend, only they didn't have their relief pitcher, Jeff Reardon. You have Tim Raines leading off in left field and Vance Law at second base. Andre Dawson, who's really been on a tear in right field. And Hubie Brooks, the number 1 shortstop for RBIs in many years. Terry Francona will be at first base, followed by Tim Wallach at third. Mitch Webster, a little bit banged up, but he's okay, well enough to play. He's in center. Sal Butera behind the plate. And the pitcher, Bill Gullickson.
Defensively, you can see the outfield, Coleman, McGee, and Van Slyke, and like we told you last week, they all played center field in the minor leagues, so that tells you 3 center fielders out there. They'll cut that ball in the gap and keep the double play in order. Pendleton at third base, Ozzie Smith, the magic man, at shortstop, Herb Jorgensen, good defensive first baseman, and Porter behind the plate, and Andujar. And you may note that most guys have sweatshirts on, not Andujar. He pitches without the sweatshirt, and when Whitey Herzog said to him, put a sweatshirt on, he said, you gotta love this kind of weather. You gotta love it.
In the words of Pedro Guerrero, another Dominican, he's some kind of guy, that guy.
Tough.
Some kind of guy.
One tough Dominican.
Well, he's 21-9. He's defeated every National League team this year except Montreal. He's the National League's first hurler to win 20 games in back-to-back seasons since Joe Niekro did it in 1979 and 80. And the last Cardinal 20-game winner back-to-back would, of course, be Bob Gibson. Tim Raines would like to get aboard and put a little heat on Andujar because he's the runner for Montreal. Raines has 65 stolen bases. It pales in comparison to Vince Coleman, but nevertheless, he can motor. And he's 3 for 5, along with 4 walks against Andujar this year.
Now, that's the kind of pitch that you wonder if you're a catcher. The reason I say that, defensively, they're playing them shaded towards left field. Porter gave the pitch outside. Andujar came inside. If he hits that ball, it's extra bases.
Ball 3. It is very tough for the right fielder to get a jump on a ball in this ballpark, whether it would be Andre Dawson or Van Slyke. Look at Andy. He is standing in his own personal spotlight out there, looking into the shade. It's the only spot of light. Line that's hit over second base straight away to Willie McGee.
That's the way the defense was stacked, and that's where he made him hit the ball, and that's why you have the meetings, and it's up to the pitcher to make him do exactly what Andujar did.
That'll bring up Vance Law, who has a modest 6-game hitting streak. Law, as he checks in with a .259 average. He's in the top 10 on walks. He's walked 81 times this year, and that's kind of a nice man to have at the plate with a speedster ahead of you and Mr. Sock on deck. Fouled away. Duck in a couple of scores for you of maximum importance. Cleveland breezing down as California has him shut down 5-0. But Minnesota has defeated Kansas City 5-3. The Angels with a chance to go one full game ahead of the Royals. And, of course, they have a big 4-game series coming up in Kansas City. 0-2 the count. The Mets in Pittsburgh struggling in the second, deadlocked. And, of course, the Pirates knocked off the Mets last night. 0-2. Sidearmed him. That's a little mean.
Say, Andujar, you don't win 21 games on luck. It's unfortunate that he gets in those off-the-field press conferences or what have you and doesn't get the credit that he deserves as a pitcher. But when you win 21 games, you got to be able to pitch. And you just saw one of the reasons he wins 21 games when he can limber that arm and come from third base.
Now here's the high-rent district. It's Joaquin Andujar pitching to Andre Dawson. Dawson has homered in 4 of his last 5. He hit a grand slam, you might remember, last week in St. Louis, and he literally destroyed the Chicago Cubs. In the streak of 6 games, he has 6 home runs and 15 runs batted in. Foul back. 0-2. He'll be playing out his option next year, along with Raines and the Montreal front office. They'll have to make big decisions this winter as to whether to let him play the option year or trade him or what have you.
Boy, that's become such a factor. Detroit with Kirk Gibson and Jack Morris.
Yeah. And big money. Side armor just outside. 1-2.
And he had something on that pitch.
You know, prior to this awesome streak, Andujar is looking down at a hitter who was 2 for just 42. You talk about hot and cold. Over the top breaking ball, and he had a lunge for it, and it's a pop fly that will be caught by Van Slyke. So a good pitch, hard breaking ball down and away, and Dawson lunging, and at the end of an inning, no score. Toronto with the magic number of 5. When they finish with Milwaukee, they have 3 more road games with Detroit. Then they go home and finish the year against the Yankees, who are tied up with Baltimore 4-4 in the 5th inning. The Mets are leading 1-0 in the second on a home run by George Foster. When the Mets finish up at Pittsburgh, they then play in St. Louis October 1, 2, and 3. And then the Mets finish at home with these Montreal Expos.
You can see what speed does even before they make a pitch. You saw Butera point to first base. Gullickson get over there. Gullickson talking to his first baseman, be sure to get the ball. I'll be there. And Van Slyke is not even in the batter's box yet. It makes you think.
And he's the power hitter in the lineup. It's ball 1. In other words, without Jack Clark and without Cesar Cedeno, Andy Van Slyke's 12 home runs makes him the long ball threat in the Cardinal lineup right now. And he promptly grounds one the other way for a base hit.
But with this Cardinal ball club, Ben, when you talk about power because of that speed, you really have to group in doubles and triples and the extra bases that they take, because home runs is not their strong suit by any means. But when you got jackrabbits, they can run wild in the field.
Well, let's see about Andy Van Slyke, whether he presents any kind of a problem, and he does. Van Slyke has stolen 33 bases and been caught only 5 times. So here's Terry Pendleton. Pendleton has hit in 13 of his last 15. What's more important, it's a productive number, 15 RBIs. And there goes Van Slyke. The pitch, a strike, the throw is late. So there you have it. He turns a single right away into a double by stealing second base.
And keep in mind, there's no particular strategy. Whitey just tells him, if you get on and you get a jump, take off. The ball's a good ball to handle. One-handed grab. The throw is a bit low. Wrong side of the bag, and even if it's right there, Van Slyke is in there.
Pendleton has had an off year. He hadn't hit that much. but he has hit reasonably well as a left-handed batter, just about 250. They're looking bunt. Instead, he pulls it on the ground of Van's Law, and that gets his man over to third. Let's take a pickup on that New York Mets score and get a report.
Okay, Vin, here it is. Top of the second in Pittsburgh. 2 outs. George Foster hits it deep to center field off Bob Kipper. Joe Orslak goes back, but it's gone. Foster's 20th. The Mets lead it 1-0, bottom of the second inning. Back to you, Vin and Joe.
Okay, Len. Now it'll be Mike Jorgensen, the veteran left-hand hitting first baseman, trying to pick up Van Slyke from third. The infield is up, and that slide is high. Ball 1.
They almost looked like a football team that time. They were back and came charging in. It's a tribute to Gullickson. They want to shut off that run. But again, here are the Cardinals in the manufacturing of runs business.
A base hit, a stolen base, and a ground ball. The #1 run production team in the National League. Breaking ball strike, and the throw got him. Sal Buterre to Tim Wallach, and they hang Van Slyke out to dry.
That was just an I'll be there play, no set play, and they pick him off slicker than a whistle. Wallach is there in plenty of time. They get him. That's just a bad piece of base running. No reason to get picked off there.
So Van Slyke, whose steal was the Cardinals' 21st in a row, pays the price and is picked off third. Well, as we said, Montreal has played the Cardinals so tough. They blew leads, or they could have swept the 3, and Andy Van Slyke muttering to himself about being picked off. Foul back. They had won 9 out of 12 until last weekend, and then the Cardinals pulled all 3 of them out of the fire, and they've beaten the Cardinals 5 out of 6 here.
You saw Van Slyke, and you know what he's thinking, because there's no answer to the question that he got. Where were you going?
And he's asking himself that.
Expletives deleted.
2-2 the count. And Jorge drives one to right and deep. Backing up into the bright sign is Andre Dawson and makes the catch. Oh, is that a tough play, and particularly under the circumstances with that bright sun shining in his eyes. And at the end of an inning.
Ben, as you pointed out, the sun is so bright. Now he's on the grass, never looking at the wall, and his feet hitting the warning track tell him he's close. Now he's going to jump just a bit premature, and he's going to hit that wall, but there's nothing else he could do. That was really a tough play. Look at it from this angle. He's just bearing down on that ball, and it's his feet that tell him you're getting close, and you can see that he might have jumped a bit too soon, made the play, but that was a very tough play.
And as Andy Van Slyke takes his position in right field, he has to be thinking, well, if I'm not picked off, that fly ball gets me home, and we're leading 1-0. Instead, no score, bottom of the second inning. Hubie Brooks. Then Terry Francona and Tim Wallach. There's Andy Van Slyke, and you know that's what he's thinking. How could I have been picked off third? Dummy.
You can see it on his face, and that's one of the tough parts about being an outfielder. You got all that time to think about it when you do screw play up like that.
And you got to wake up right away and forget about it now and concentrate on the hitter, who is quite a hitter. Hubie has the most RBIs. He passed Dennis Menke at 92. He's now after Ernie Banks as a shortstop. Banks had 117 back in 1960. Fouled away.
Remember in St. Louis, he was having such a problem holding on to the bat because of the bad hands that he had. The bat kept slipping out of his hands.
Brooks with 94 RBIs. Davey Concepcion was a great productive shortstop. Back in '79, Concepcion had 84. And when you talk about shortstops and RBIs, you go over to the American League. Rico Petrocelli had 103 in 1970 for the Red Sox. Robin Yount in 1982 had 114 runs batted in for Milwaukee. And then Cal Ripken 2 years ago had 102. The point being that Hubie's up there with the big guys. Ground ball to Ozzie, one away.
Ozzie has to play just a little bit deeper, and he likes to play in this ballpark. He talks about it always seems that the surface is a bit damp, and that ball gets out to you in a hurry, but I'll tell you, it doesn't seem to bother him any.
Ozzie Smith. Now here's Terry Francona. Francona hitting .271. He is a good hitter, and for the first year in his career, he is pretty well survived it without any bad injuries. He's played 100 games. The questions here in Montreal as they try and prepare for next year. Mike Fitzgerald had arthroscopic surgery. They feel he'll come back and be the catcher that they need. But then again, they're looking for some more sock and some more pitching. And immediately you have people like Dawson and Raines whose contracts are coming up option-wise as we see Toronto taking a 2-0 lead. Toronto trying to win its 97th game. Cincinnati just refuses to quit. That figures with Pete Rose at the helm, beating Houston 5-1. Foul ball. 1-2.
Montreal has some bright hopes in that Galarraga, too. They were talking about that home run he hit in Chicago in the center field. I thought the home run he hit in St. Louis was a long way, but Claude Raymond was telling me the one he hit in Chicago was even farther.
Wow. For the one in St. Louis was almost out of the state. 1-2 the count. Terry Francona on the hands, little fly ball. Coming up is McGee. 2 down. Joaquin Andujar and Bill Gullickson in the first game of a doubleheader. Gloria washed out last night's game. So it's 2 today and 1 tomorrow. And then the Cardinals go home and await the arrival of the Mets. Interesting, if you think about the consistency of a ball club, it might surprise you a little bit. The most consistent team in baseball this year would be the California Angels. California has only had 3 losing streaks of at least 3 games. Everyone else has lost 3 in a row at least 4 times. Foul ball coming back and no play for Porter. Buck Rogers. And of course he will be part of the Brain Trust, trying to make decisions on, well, first of all, if he can get Charlie Lee healthy and Joe Hesketh back, they're going to be dramatically improved next year. No, they have a nucleus of a pretty good ball club here in Montreal. 1-1. Ball 2.
Can't help but say it. That's a rare shot. We got 2 shots of managers, and neither one of them spitting.
Whitey Herzog was spitting out a few words in the local press today that really curled people's hair about the 1980 Cardinals and drugs. Oh, what an article. A drive down the left field line, hooking foul and out of play.
And that brings up something. The umpires. The umpires are never mentioned in this. What would happen if an umpire said, I am chemically dependent?
They would either hang him or fire him, not necessarily in that order.
And they would talk about the integrity of the game. What's the difference between the integrity of an umpire, like, say, Bruce Fleming or a third baseman? And these guys got to deal with these guys who are under the influence sometimes. I think they deserve an awful lot of credit, and they really have been not given any credit of what the job they've been doing and how clean they have been.
They're making a movie out of the trials in Pittsburgh. The title is going to be From Here to Immunity.
I'm telling you, that whole thing, that cloud.
2-2. Sidearm breaking ball.
You know what really bothers me, though? They talk about the players that get chemical dependency, alcoholic dependency. If it's a poor guy on the street, some poor yokel, he's a druggie or a junkie, but they're chemically dependent. Baloney spumoni.
3-2. Little foul out of play.
And as long as I'm on the soapbox, I'm going to say it publicly. If I were a player today, I'd go to the management and I'd say, I want to take that test on only one stipulation, that you release it to the press that I'm clean. I'm not going to hide, let these guys hide behind me.
Here's the thing, too, just to follow that kind of thinking. Foul ball. It's the last 2 weeks of the season. You got 4 clubs battling for the pennant, and you have a urinalysis test. And you find out that stars on 2 of the 4 teams that are vitally involved in the pennant race with 2 weeks to go are chemically dependent. What do you do?
Well, I'm going to give you that answer. Wait a minute.
Ball 4.
And then we need a 30-minute show for this, but it's just like in that page, the story that Whitey had. I'll bet you my bottom dollar that Whitey went to management in 1980 and said, I got 10 guys on his ball club that are on junk.
He said 11, in fact.
All right, what did management do? Did anybody blow the whistle? No.
Whitey said it was so bad. The big dealer for cocaine was here in Montreal, and he was a Montreal player. And Whitey said it got so bad that he would bring the Cardinals here the day of the first game of the series. That way they stood a chance of winning the first game. And he said when Keith Hernandez said 40% of the players are on drugs, Whitey Herzog said he meant the Cardinals, and 40% of the Cardinals would be 10 players. There were really 11. And he said the dealer was a player with the Expos. The Cardinal pitcher hit that player.
Wasn't that something?
The infielder came into the pitcher and chewed him out, saying, don't hit the dealer and get him angry, because then we won't get our stuff. And the killer of all, he said, the dealer is still playing baseball. And Wallach is at third base. So Tim Wallach, with 2 out, a delayed steal at second, takes third on the overthrow. And look at the catcher's position.
Way out of position. He didn't expect it. He throws off balance. He throws it one hopper past Ozzie. And I'll tell you, should the Cardinals, say, get in the series with Toronto, you're going to see a lot of running by the Toronto ball club, and you'll see a lot of running by the Dodgers.
Line to center field, and it's a base hit and a run. So the difference in the game, the Cardinals had a runner picked off, and the Expos steal one on St. Louis. You think we popped off enough?
That's enough. Let's stay with it'd take an hour show to do it, but I tell you...
You couldn't let it go by, though. It was too big a story.
Oh, that story that was in there about the pitcher hitting it and the infielder coming in telling the pitcher, I couldn't believe it. Don't hit the dealer. He might not give us some junk.
And then that line that will hang, he is still playing.
Hey, is it any wonder when you see that Razor commercial, you root for the Razor?
Mitch Webster, and you can look it up, has just knocked in a run. And it is 1-0 in favor of the Expos. Promise now, no more talk about it.
Right.
Here's Sal Butera, the catcher. No balls, 1 strike. That's just off the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 out in the second inning. 1-0 Montreal. The Expos have beaten the Cardinals 5 out of 6. And of course, the Expos could rejuvenate the New York Mets. Long distance. There goes Webster. Porter's throw is in the dirt. And they're going to run on him all day.
He's throwing off balance is what he's doing. He caught that ball and really was not going into the throw when he cut it loose. Now watch him. He'll catch the ball and then throw. Look at that right knee. See, he's off balance. It's a 3/4 throw, and it's a sinker, and no way you're going to get him.
You know, it's interesting. We've shown a couple of poor throws by Darrell Porter trying to get stolen base runners. You know, Porter has thrown out Tim Raines more than any other catcher. He's thrown out Raines 4 times this year. But it could very well be he's not getting enough help from Andujar.
Well, he definitely is off balance when he throws, and I can't understand why that right knee goes down like that. Like it's almost like he's not expecting them to run, and it's catching him by surprise.
The Expos have Tim Raines, who does all their running. He has 65. Winningham has 20, and then it falls off to 12. So it's not that kind of a running team. Strike to Butera. 2-2 the count. 1-0 Montreal in the second inning. Bill Gullickson on deck. Got a little bit of that hard side-arming slider and chipped it back foul. So they're pitching to Butera with first base open.
They'd like to have Gullickson lead off that next inning.
Managers will take that to their grave. Fastball hit up along third base. Terry Pendleton cranks it up and throws him out. But it's the Expos who steal a run, and it's 1-0 Montreal at the end of 2. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. National League East, Montreal leading the Cardinals 1-0 as we go to the top of the third. The Mets are leading Pittsburgh 2-0 in the third inning. You might notice the difference between the two teams. The Cardinals are leading the Mets by 4.5 games because the Mets counting today have 8 games left. The Cardinals counting today have 9 left. That'll tell it. Montreal, as you can see, 17.5 back. Back in June, they were within 4, and then they really took a tumble. In the middle of August, they were 17 games above 500. That's a strike to the Oz. Ozzie having a big year with the glove, as he always does, and an even bigger year with the bat, really. A shot up the middle, base hit, and Gullickson tried to barehand that thing. That's a quick way to shorten your stay in the game. He actually went after it with his bare hand. I think they're not bearing down.
Instinct is what usually causes that. Look at a good look at it. Breaking ball. Ozzie hits it right back, and look at him make a grab for it. Good athlete will do that. He'll try anything, try to kick it, what have you. They're looking for the bunt from Andahar. Wallach is really in tight.
Ozzie Smith has stolen 27 out of 35. Ball 1, 1-0. And you might say, well, what kind of a bunter is Andahar? They keep track of those things, and we can look it up for you. Andahar has sacrificed 7 times. That's as many as any pitcher on the staff, so he's pretty handy with the bat.
He'll have to make Francona field it.
2 balls and no strikes. Well, when you run into corners like that, you might as well let him bunt.
Well, true, and I'll tell you, in just watching him, he gets that bat out there in good shape, nice and level, and he's going to deaden that ball. Watch how he's got good form when he starts to bunt.
2 balls, no strikes. Francona holding the bag in case Ozzie might try to go. Andahar was trying switch hitting earlier, but not anymore. They want to protect that right arm. He's going to hit right-handed and stay that way. He gets the bunt foul. 2-1.
I still can't believe they're going to let Dwight Gooden bat left-handed like they talked about him. They exposed that right arm. Gooden batting left-handed. No way.
Nice story.
Yeah.
Ozzie Smith held on by Francona. Nobody out here in the third. 1-0 Montreal. Ozzie's going. The pitch is inside, and the throw's going to be late because Ozzie had a big jump. So they get him down there. 28 stolen bases for Ozzie Smith. The Cardinals, the runningest team since the 1913 Giants.
Good ball to handle. He seems to get enough on it, but the throw is high. I'm telling you, against the Cardinal ball club, the catcher's going to have to warm up between innings. Andahar now still looking for the bunt because they've got to pick up the base with the ground ball at the out.
Coming to the plate is Francona, and the bunt is in the air, but it lands at Gullickson's feet. So Ozzie Smith had to hold at second. Once that ball was in the air, it looked catchable. Ozzie threw his hands out as if to say, well, I couldn't move. So 1 away. Ozzie at second, representing the tying run, with Vince Coleman and Willie McGee trying to pick him up. Boy, what a difference a year makes. 1 year ago today, the Cardinals were in third place, 11.5 games behind the Chicago Cubs. Of course, here they are, 4.5 games in front of the only other team in the East that can contend, the New York Mets.
Wallach at third base really takes a unique position with the man on at second.
Yeah, he plays sideways, more than just caddy corner.
He wants to watch the runner. He wants to watch the hitter. There you see him. Look how that's how he stands as the pitch is being delivered.
1 out. Ozzie Smith at second base. Third inning, 1-0 Montreal. Fouled away. 0-1.
You know, Ozzie Smith told me something very interesting. He said Vince Coleman, in about 6 weeks, has broken 55 bats. And Willie McGee, who hardly says anything, says he went through some of his, all of his, some of mine, some of Ozzie's. And Ozzie said, he just broke that one.
He cracked that one.
He said he can be standing at the batting cage and somebody throw an infield ball in, hit his bat, it'll break. So never saw a guy break bats like he does.
I remember, and we talked about it earlier this year, Tony Pena, the catcher of the Pirates, broke 12 bats in a 3-game series, but he got like 6 or 7 hits breaking the 12 bats. And then the I don't know how true this is, but the Dodger equipment man Nobi Kawano said that he was told by the Louisville Slugger people that Billy Goodman one year with the Boston Red Sox, I think, played the whole year with one bat.
Incredible.
Yeah. Well, look at Wade Boggs. Isn't he incredible? I wonder if he ever breaks a bat.
How about that one note we saw that he only popped up to the infield once? That doesn't sound right.
No. And it was foul. 0-1 the count to Vince Coleman. He rolled out to Vance Law in the first inning. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Bill Gullickson comes in 13-11, 6-9 lifetime against St. Louis. Ground ball to Wallach, so he'll look Ozzie back and take care of Coleman. So 2 down, and that runner is still at second base, and Willie McGee coming up. Interesting thing, they did a breakdown on Dwight Gooden, the phenom of the Mets, and how various hitters in the league fare against him. And perhaps the toughest hitter in the league against Dwight Gooden is this kid, Willie McGee. Willie McGee against Dwight Gooden is hitting .556. He has 10 hits in 18 at-bats, and he has struck out once. Chili Davis is another fellow who hits him. Steve Garvey, a third. Ground ball at Wallach. Gloves. Gets him, and so Ozzie Smith is left on the yellow brick road. And at the end of 2.5 innings, it remains Montreal 1 and the Cardinals nothing. Well, as you see the scores, the big shock right now that Cleveland got off the deck and they have tied up California 5-5. Kansas City has gone down the tubes. Minnesota took care of them 5-3. That's the one division that makes no sense at all whether California or Kansas City is going to win it, but at least it'll be decided perhaps this week when they play 4.
And that's when it's really great. When you go head and head, you don't have to look at the scoreboard. It's up to you, nobody else, because right now everybody's looking at the scoreboard.
And you know, when you think about it, it was Cleveland last year that knocked Minnesota right out of the state and blew them out of the pennant race, and here they are giving California a bad time.
Did you see that one line the Cleveland fan had? He said, we're only 2 or 3 pitches away from a 4th place team. What a rip.
Bill Gullickson will take ball 1. That was a line a writer used 1,000 years ago in New York about the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he said overconfidence might cost them 7th place. Here's Gullickson. And he loops one into center, and Ozzie is there. Ozzie always seems to be there. 1 down. Speaking of 4th place, Baltimore leading the Yankees 5-4 in the 7th inning, and I think we should put to rest that terrible rumor, it can't be right, that the Yankees are going to finish their home year in Madison Square Garden. That's impossible.
Oh, I tell you, of all the things that Billy and his problems in the Cross Keys, and then the Winfield-Steinbrenner confrontation about who's going to deliver the Uberoth letter. There's a series for you.
Oh, we have 1 away, and Tim Raines, who flied to center in the first inning, 0 for 1. He's really been a terror in that leadoff role all year, but particularly in his last 6 games, he's been on base 16 times with 9 hits and 7 walks. 1 ball and no strikes. And that's fouled away. 1-1 to count. Joaquin Andujar. When he joined John Tudor to win 20, it's the first National League team since the '69 Cubs to have 2 20-game winners. Bill Hands and Ferguson Jenkins. The Dodgers had Bill Singer and Claude Osteen. Now back. We were talking before about how frustrating it is for the Mets. They could very well 2 years in a row win 90 games and come up short, and the Expos did that in '79 and '80. That '80 Expo team was a good ball club to win, and yet they just could not quite win more than 90 to get it. And then in 81, the Expos lost the bitterest of all when Rick Monday hit the ball over the center field fence here to beat Steve Rogers. So it's a frustrated franchise. Make no mistake about that. Strike 3 to Tim Raines. 2 down. When Montreal played the Cardinals last weekend, Montreal led 3-2. They lost 5-3. They led 6-1. They lost 7-6. They led 5-4. They lost 6-5. That kind of sums up what's been going on here. Here's Vance Law. 0 for 1. You want to get a towel in his house, they all match.
They do. A teammate over in Pittsburgh, it always struck me how the letter V is so prominent. Father's Vern, mother's Vanita.
Yes.
Brothers are Veldon, Verrill, Varlin, and Vaughn. Sisters Belinda. Dog is Victor.
No Vincent.
Nothing personal, Vin,
No,
but I think
I feel left out.
Maybe they'll name a chair after
Something or a lamp. Something or a plant.
A plant.
Something with a lot of personality.
I'll talk to Vern's. Vanita's beautiful. She'll do it.
Okay, name a plant after me. Well, down goes Vance, and we will advance to the 4th in a minute. At the end of 3, Montreal 1, the Cardinals nothing. Tomorrow, join NBC Sports. We'll continue our coverage of the NFL with a doubleheader. Start the day at 12:30 Eastern with NFL 85. Host Bob Costas with the latest scores, interviews, and highlights of all the NFL action. First game, some of you will see the Raiders and the Patriots. Second half of the doubleheader, most of you will see the Dolphins and the Broncos, plus other regional action. Check your local listings for the games and times in your area. Your team plays here, so kick off with NBC Sports. Tommy Herr in the 4th inning. A shot off the backhanded attempt of Terry Francona, and in the corner, Dawson with a rifle out there, so Herr will hold with a single. Francona almost makes the play.
Leedy takes a big bad hop. Looks like he's going to make it here. Dive and then whoops over his head. Now it's self-defense. Get the hand up there to protect yourself. Pitch looked like it was outside, and he almost hit it one-handed.
Tommy Herr at first base, nobody out, and Darrell Porter aboard. So Gullickson has had a pitch out of a stretch in each inning. Big play picked off Van Slyke at 3rd. Nice throw from Sal Butera in the 2nd inning, and he left Ozzie Smith in the 3rd. Strike to Porter, who grounded to Francona in the 1st inning.
Porter's a double play man. You like to see him hit with that hole between 1st and 2nd, but if you want to stay away from the double play, you're going to have to start your man. They may give him 2 strikes and then maybe put a play on.
1-0 in favor of Montreal in the 4th inning. Meanwhile, the Mets are leading 2-0 last we heard in Pittsburgh. This is the first of 2. The second game pitchers are Dan Schatzeder and Bob Forsch. So Gullickson trying to win his 14th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Francona holding a corner on Tommy Herr. Away. As far as Tommy Herr is concerned, he has stolen 30 bases, and he's been caught only 3 times.
Here it is, manager's delight, 2-1. Herr is really checking hard. Still looking.
The fellow who hits into a lot of double plays is Terry Pendleton. He leads the Cardinals in that unenviable department. Porter, of course, has not played a lot. He's only had, well, let's see, 100 and some odd at bats, and he's grounded into 8 double plays. So Herr is not going. Now let's see if they play run and hit. 3 balls, 1 strike. Al Lanier coaching at 3rd. Nick Leyba coaching over at 1st for St. Louis. Watch Herr, 3-1. He doesn't go on a strike.
Were you surprised?
Not really. If he doesn't go on this one, I'll be surprised, because I think what they wanted to do was give Porter a real good shot at the 3-1 pitch and clear his mind. Right now, if I were Butera, I'd be looking for her to be running on this pitch. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go.
And if I'm Gullickson, I've got to go to throw first base no matter what.
Definitely.
You got to go over. Nope, and there goes her. And there goes a fly ball to right field. It's playable. Andre Dawson is there. So her goes back to first. One down.
On that 3-1 pitch, I just have to figure that Porter may be one of those hitters that if a runner breaks, he's distracted, and Whitey wanted to get every edge he could.
Toronto trying to win big. They're handling Milwaukee 5-1. Toronto trying to win as many games as the Cardinals have already won. Cardinals have won 97. Toronto can win their 97th by beating Milwaukee. The Toronto Blue Jays. You know, it's an interesting thing. The American League pennant will be won by a team that's been in baseball less time than Phil Niekro. The Angels came to birth in 1961. The Royals, an expansion team for 1969. The Blue Jays, an expansion team 1977. Phil Niekro was a professional pitcher in 1959. I realize that's not going to earth-shake, but it is an interesting thought. Pitch out, huh?
Just got a call from Phil. He said he really appreciates that.
1 ball and no strikes.
You made him sound like he was coming down from the mountain.
With the tablet.
With 10 of them in his hand.
1-0 the count. Bill Gullickson leading 1-0 in the 4th inning. It is amazing, though. It shows you the fortunes of the American League. Not the New York Yankees, not the Baltimore Orioles, not the Milwaukee Brewers. Toronto, California. 1 ball and no strikes. That's in there. By the way, top of the 4th inning at Pittsburgh. Keith Hernandez hit a comebacker back to the box. Gary Carter rolled to short. Darryl Strawberry hit to the first baseman. So at the end of 3.5 innings, the Mets 2 and the Pirates nothing. And we'll keep tabs on that game. One and one. Andy Van Slyke trying to atone. Remember, in the 2nd inning, he singled and stole second, took third on an infield out, and was then picked off. Sal Butera to Tim Wallach, and then Mike Jorgensen hit a fly ball that Andre Dawson caught up against a right field wall. But because of the pickoff, the Cardinals lost a run.
Watch her.
Not going. Ball 2. Now ball 3-1 the count.
He's not getting very good footing over there at first base. You see him always as we look at the on-deck batter.
That's Terry Pendleton.
You see him constantly digging at his spikes. He's dug out a little area. You can see it. There he goes again.
And you can see the dirt seems to leave a lot of clumps out on the rug there. There he goes. And there's another ball hit in the air. You know, Webster started back on that, but Tim Raines comes in to catch it. Mitch Webster instinctively went back. We mentioned this is a very tough ballpark to pick off the ball. It could be a factor before the afternoon is over. And they're starting, remember, late, the first game of a doubleheader. So things are going to get sticky here by the end of the first game. Here's Terry Pendleton, grounded out in the 2nd inning, 0 for 1. Pendleton began the day hitting .240.
Really got that right arm protected with the plastic shield.
You wouldn't think he'd be able to pull the ball or pull the bat through with all that stuff on that arm. Time by plate umpire Bob Davidson. That thing is really wrapped. You know, another interesting thing in comparing the Cardinals and the Mets are playing Pittsburgh. In September, the Cardinals went 5-0 against the Pirates. The Mets have lost 5 of 7 against the Pirates in the month of September. But they are winning today. 1-0. Terry Pendleton with a left-hand hitter Mike Jorgensen on deck. That's in there. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. So Tommy Herr's been a very quiet base runner. As you see, Cincinnati leading Houston 5-2 in the 8th. Got a man down there with 30 stolen bases, and he hasn't done a thing.
He's actually getting a bigger lead with Pendleton batting than the other times. He's getting at least his front foot, his right foot, on the artificial surface. With the other guys, it was just on the fringe, but he's getting a bigger lead now than he's had since he's been there.
1-1.
There he goes.
Ground ball down to shortstop, over to second base, and that will be that. So the Cardinals stay on the ground. They don't even try to fly. And at the end of 3.5 innings, Gullickson and the Expos won. Cardinals nothing. A tough ball game brewing here in Montreal's Olympic Stadium. Montreal leading 1-0 with 2 out. Tim Wallach walked, stole second, took third on an overthrow by Darryl Porter, and came home on a single by Mitch Webster. He'll be having his time, the Montreal mascot. And here's Andre Dawson, Hubie Brooks, and Terry Francona. Look at those numbers. He left Chicago in ruins on Tuesday. A one-hopper, and staying with it at third is Terry Pendleton to get him. Boy, that thing will take your belt buckle off. Look at that thing. Whoa, it almost cut him in half.
It really skids out to him, too. I mean, it gets there in a hurry. Once he catches it, he can relax. He played it well, too, in front of it all the way. Now he says, I got it. Now it's easy.
When we were kids growing up in New York, you know how you learned to make that play?
How?
Jumping over fire hydrants. That's just what he looked like he was doing. Yeah, don't be short. One away. Hubie Brooks grounded to short in the second inning, 0 for 1. Great stop by Terry. On his pins, throws him out. Terry Pendleton, 2 solid plays.
Really defensive gems, both of them. This one, ball gets out there once again in a hurry, and watch him leave his feet. He knows he's got to leave his feet, just does get it. Lands hard, comes right up. Good play.
So 2 back-to-back by Terry Pendleton. Good time to remind you that we'll be selecting the NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. Here's Terry Francona, fly to center in the second inning. Right out of Porter's mitt for a strike, too. 0-1.
That ball was right down the middle.
You talk about a catcher boxing a pitch. That was a classic example.
He looked like he had one of those D&M models, drop it and moan.
0-1 the count. Ground ball to the hole, off the glove. I think Tommy might have gotten a piece of leather on it, but that's all. So Francona singles to right. And Andujar's a little fortunate that he got 2 good plays from Terry Pendleton. It's still 1-0 Montreal, and Tim Wallach, who walked in the second inning, coming up. Tim Wallach came into the game hitting .262. No, that's not his best performance, but he does have a lot of sock. Look at that. Can you believe it? No one wants it. Cleveland down 5-0. Came off the deck and beat the Angels. Kansas City went down the tubes, and now they have the pleasure of meeting each other, and someone has to win. Maybe.
Maybe
there'll be 4 ties.
Remember, Phyllis Diller had a beauty contest. She said nobody won.
Right. Tim Wallach fouls that one away, 0-2. Herb Schreiner. Remember the late Herbert Schreiner? Yeah. And he came from a little town. He said you were really smooth if you had a good line to your girl like, "Hi, gosh, your skin is cleared up nicely." Watching Francona, it's 1-0 Montreal here in the 4th inning. The first game of a doubleheader. 1-2. You make a mistake with Wallach, and he can really hurt you. He has 21 home runs, and he also has 35 doubles.
Andujar hasn't come much sidearm since that first inning.
Over the top now, and it's promptly hit to right, but it's at Van Slyke. So Wallach hit it on the button, but it's out. Good plays behind Andujar. It's still 1-0 Montreal. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. We're moving to the 5th inning here in the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. 1-0 Montreal in the 2nd inning with 2 out. Wallach walked. Whitey Herzog on the left of the Cardinals saw Wallach steal second on orders from Buck Rogers, the manager of Montreal. And then Wallach took third on the overthrow and came home on a base hit by Webster. So 1-0 Expos in the 5th inning. Mike Jorgensen, followed by Ozzie Smith, Joaquin Andujar. To bring you up to date, in a nutshell, the Indians came from 5-0 down and knocked off the Angels. Kansas City lost, so they're still dead even. Toronto would appear to be breezing against Milwaukee. The Yankees are winning by a run, but it's not very important anymore. And here, Montreal is leading 1-0, and the Mets are leading in Pittsburgh 2-0. That's to Francona, 1 away. On this day in baseball, one of the truly greats said goodbye. This was a wonderful moment for him. September the 28th, 1960, against the Orioles, and the great Ted Williams said goodbye the only way he knew how, his final home run. Of course, it's also a great date for him if you go back to 1941. That's when he had the option. He was going to be the first hitter to hit 400 since George Sisler. And his team was playing a doubleheader with the Philadelphia A's. Fouled away. And a lot of people said to him, sit out the doubleheaders. You got a bad ankle, a bad leg. You got something wrong with you. Sit it out and hit 400. And he said, nope. I'm going to play, and I'll either do it or I don't. He played, and he went 6 for 8 and hit over 400. 1-1.
To stop and think what it means to hit 400.
Yeah.
What an amazing feat.
All those people conspiring against you. The 1-1 pitch. While we're talking memories, tomorrow, September 29, 1963, it was Stan Musial in his last career at-bat, and he went out the right way. He got a single against Cincinnati's Jim Maloney. That's the thing about baseball. Anniversaries, they mean a lot.
Oh, you remember your last time at bat?
How did your last time at bat go, Joe?
Hit a line drive to Murray Dixon, turned it into a double play.
What an awful way to end it. Here, I thought I've shown a home run. I've talked for a guy going 6 for 8. I've talked about it in your last at bat.
I hit it good, though.
Yeah. A double play.
He's a good fielder. Philadelphia.
3-2. Jig chopper down to shortstop. Hubie Brooks will take care of Ozzie. We need an update on the New York Mets in their game with Pittsburgh. Let's go to Len Berman. Lenny?
Okay, thank you, Vin. 4th inning in Pittsburgh. Tony Pena hits the ground ball for the Pirates. Ray Knight plays at the second, called safe. The out is made at first, but Davey Johnson comes on to argue the call at second, and Joe West gives him the heave-ho. Still 2-0 for the managerless Mets to the 5th. Vin?
Okay, Len. Well, one thing about Pittsburgh, the dugouts are so close to home plate, closer, I believe, than in any other ballpark, that you can be kicked out of the game, and Chuck Tanner and Davey Johnson, whoever, in this instance, Johnson, he can go back on the runway 5 feet and still see home plate and manage a ball game. You can talk to the on-deck hitter from up in the alley. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Joaquin Andujar. And he pops it foul. I remember one year, Joe, in Ebbets Field, Charlie Dressen got kicked out of the game. And he wanted to stay on the bench. It was a big game. And he went down the stairs, and he saw a groundskeeper. And he got the groundskeeper's hat and a big broom. And he came back up, and he tried to sit behind the broom and manage, but they spotted him. End of story, end of Andujar, end of the Cardinals in the 5th. And at the end of 4.5 innings in the Big O in Montreal, Expos won, and the Cardinals have a Big O of their own. Couple of scores. Cincinnati put Houston away 5-2. The Giants-Dodgers scoreless in the second for the moment anyway. Cincinnati trailing by 5. It'll go to 4.5 or revert to 5.5 depending upon the outcome of the Dodger game. And of course for the Reds and the Dodgers, time running out. After today, they will each have 8 games left to play. And the Reds will be in Dodger Stadium for the last 3 games of the regular season. Mitch Webster and ball 1. By the way, in the bottom of the 4th inning at Pittsburgh, as you look at Jack Clark resting his sore ribs, and he's a question just when he will be able to play. Johnny Ray popped up to second. Sid Bream singled and Mike Brown walked. Tony Pena grounded to first. Brown was forced at second. Pena was safe at second on the overthrow at first. Morrison bounced out. So the Pirates failed to score, and at the end of 4, it's the Mets 2, Pittsburgh nothing. Mitch Webster's base hit in the second inning picked up Tim Wallach to account for the only RBI. 1-0 Montreal, bottom of the 5th. Joaquin Andujar trying to win his 22nd. It is anything but a one-man show with the Cardinals. For instance, they recently went 13 out of 14, and 10 different pitchers picked up victories of the 13. Imagine that, 10 different pitchers, all winning. Sal Butera made the biggest defensive play when he picked off Andy Van Slyke in the second inning. As a batter, he grounded out in the second. Come to think of it, in the last inning, the Cardinals really helped Andujar. Terry Pendleton made 2 good plays.
He's making some good moves over there. That was his Sunday move, and he about had Webster. He had him leaning, and Andujar, his move is a quick move. Now he's leaning. Looks like he's going to get him, and I'm not. Whoops, he tagged him high. He would have gotten him.
Well, it makes me immediately wonder about Butera as a double play man. He has grounded into only 1. He hadn't played that much, but still, just 1 double play.
He's cut down Webster's lead at first base, I'll tell you that. That's important, because now you got a shot to get him at third base on that base hit to right field.
Or even to second on a knockdown play.
Right, sure.
0-1. Boy, he might have him. Oh, I don't know how he missed it.
He's getting him on above the elbow. The ball is getting there. I'm telling you, Webster's going to cut that lead a little bit more. Now, that ball, see, he was leaning. Yep. He just wants to go. Now, the ball's there ahead of him. Now, look. Way.
I thought he had him dead.
Right there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they didn't get him. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I thought he had him the other time, too, but that time, that picture really showed it. The ball was there in plenty of time.
Interesting, though, not a word said by anybody. Nobody hollered. 1-1 to Sal Butera. It's 1-0 Montreal, bottom of the 5th. They're in the 5th inning at Pittsburgh. The Mets are leading 2-0.
It's going to get picked off on default. Yeah, he's going over there.
1-1. And there he goes. And there goes the ball, foul down the line and in the bullpen.
Andujar's release at the plate could be a little bit quicker, but then you're afraid it would take away from his effectiveness as a pitcher. But his throw to first base is a good move. But he's kind of got like a little hitch as he delivers the ball, and that gives the base runner a little bit of a break. But you can't get that big a lead. Although Webster has himself a pretty good lead, and I wouldn't be surprised if Andujar tried to get him again.
1-2 with the runner going to check swing foul. You know, I got an interesting note. Now, just looking at the book, Andujar has 3 strikeouts. And in the 4th inning, they hit him very hard. 2 ground balls and Terry Pendleton stayed with both of them. Then Francona singled to right, and Wallach hit it right on the screws, but right at Andy Van Slyke. So they're hitting the ball pretty hard, and in his last 4 starts, Andujar had only 8 strikeouts in 4 starts.
Big lead.
We'll watch him. He goes. Foul back.
It's almost like Buck Rogers is determined to run on a 1-ball, 2-strike count. You would think that Andujar and Porter would have a chance of work and set up the 2-2 pitch and give Porter a good ball to handle. But Rogers is running him. He ran him 3 times on a 1-ball, 2-strike count.
And remember, too, that they stole second twice in the second inning. So they're running.
Kind of a funny sign Porter gave, the little finger. I don't know what that would mean.
There he goes. Foul tipped and held. The throw is right there to get him. It seemed to fade right into the runner.
It sunk right into him. He threw a sinker 3/4, and he threw it to the first base side of the bag, and it went right into the runner. It's sinking as it's getting there. That's what I call real coolness. Look at her blowing a bubble while he's making the tag. Catch the ball and drop the glove.
He's coming back from a sprained left wrist. See that white tape on the arm? He sprained his wrist making a tag. So it's a double play, and it goes 2-4 from Darrell Porter to Tommy Herr.
Not to question running so much. He had to dive back 5 times. He fouled off 3 pitches. He may have been a little bit out of gas.
High fly ball, and it'll be caught by Willie McGee. So the Expos tiptoe out of the 5th inning, and at the end of 5, Montreal 1 and the Cardinals nothing. Now here's another edition of Baseball Remembers.
Old Spice presents Baseball Remembers. Ernie Banks remembers how he became a prolific home run hitter.
I didn't have any idea that I had any power, neither did the management of the Cubs. And it was more or less a surprise to me, and seemed like every time I hit a home run, I wonder how in the world it happened. And then when I got to 500, my kids used to say to me, well, you got one more to get past 500. And I never was conscious of it. I never thought that I was a power hitter. When people say, well, you hit 512 home runs, it was kind of like, that wasn't me that did that. It was somebody else. It really helped my career. I guess if I thought about hitting home runs and being a power hitter, I probably would have wound up with a lot less.
Toronto trying to shut down the Yankees. Toronto leading Milwaukee 6-1 in the 8th inning, while Baltimore leading the Yankees 5-4, and the number would then be 3 if Toronto wins and the Yankee loses.
Tell you, when the number gets under 5, you can hear the hammer hitting the nails on the coffin. Andujar had quite a conversation with Darrell Porter on the pickoff moves. And they're going to go maybe talk some more.
They'll have to use Tommy Herr as an intermediary.
Duck behind his back. Red Schoendienst in the foreground. Oh, redhead never changed. He looks like a Huck Finn, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Nothing ever bothers the old redhead.
That's why he's still around.
I tell you, he used to worry me. He'd take that glove off when guys were hitting, and then he'd put it back on and field it.
Vince Coleman is 0 for 2, and he lifts a fly ball into shallow left, but Raines was right there. So Coleman is 0 for 3, and of course you start to choke off the Cardinal running attack if you can keep Coleman and McGee quiet. And so far they're 0 for 5 between them. Now Willie McGee, the league's leading hitter, struck out and grounded to third, 0 for 2.
He's pretty much a first ball hitter, but Coleman having hit the first ball gives McGee a decision to make.
One ball and no strikes. We get a report for you from Pittsburgh. In the bottom of the 5th inning, Sammy Khalifa flied to left. Kipper, the pitcher, bounced back to the pitcher. Orsulak flied to left, so the Bucks went quietly. And at the end of 5, Mets 2, Pirates nothing. The magic number is 5 as far as the Cardinals are concerned. That's a strike. 2-1. This is a career-high year for McGee. He's established highs in runs scored, hits, doubles, triples, home runs, game-winning RBIs, towels used after games, everything. Keith Hernandez was the last man to do that, 200 hits. He has a chance to register the highest batting average by a National League switch hitter since Pete Rose hit 348 in 1969. Frank Frisch hit 348 in 1923. Over in the American League, the great Mantle 365 in 1957. And no National League player has had more than 215 hits since Pete Rose in 1973. So McGee is really having an incredible season. 3-2 to Willie. Fouled away.
He's such a wonderful young guy, shy, answers all your questions, but it's almost like I'd rather be talking about somebody else. A real delight to be around.
Well, with 2 strikes on him, it's interesting because Dwight Gooden has been quoted as saying, as far as he's concerned, McGee is the toughest man in the National League to strike out. Well, today he struck out in the first inning against Gullickson. High fly ball, and they are just fly balls. It's a graveyard of dreams out there in center field. You can hit the ball up day. Well, we just gave you what was going on in Pittsburgh. Let's get some more from Len Berman.
All right, Vin, you mentioned the outs. Here's what happened in between. A foul pop-up. Ray Knight and Rafael Santana for the Mets collide. Santana goes down hard, is slow getting up, but both stayed in the game and played on. It's still 2-0 Mets in the 6th. Back to Montreal.
Where was a pitcher to direct traffic, huh? As the shortstop and third baseman collide. Here's Tommy Herr. He walked and singled. Tommy 1 for 1. Local time here in Montreal, it's 5 minutes of 5. Bright blue up above, the entire field in shade, and the lights haven't really taken effect yet. From here to quite a while, it's going to be tough.
Gullickson is not throwing that slow curveball he threw in St. Louis.
1-1 to count to Tommy Herr. And the fastball would appear to be a good advantage. A drive to right center. Andre Dawson is there. So it's a ho-hum inning, and he keeps his outfield busy. A fly ball to left, a fly ball to center, a fly ball to right. Equal opportunity, and it is 1-0 Montreal. Next week's game of the week, the race for the pennant. And we tell you to check local listings. We are going to check our own local listing. We're not sure where we're going to be. And you look at the schedule, it could come down to California at Texas. Maybe we'd be there. Kansas City, meanwhile, will be at home with Oakland, so maybe we'd be there. Or if the Reds stay alive, they'll be in Los Angeles. Maybe we'll be there. So we'll check local listings along with you. Look at that. There's another one of those box jobs. The pitch for a strike, and that thing came out of the mid of Darrell Porter and ran all the way over as if he had a spring in there.
And the bench jockeys are saying, box me up a crate of those. I'd like to take them home.
Gee.
Using those boxing gloves.
Fouled away. Let me ask you a technical and sensitive question, seriously.
Okay.
Does that annoy a pitcher if a catcher starts dropping balls? And
annoy him?
Yeah.
In addition to that, he gets mad.
hot.
Oh, does he get mad? You know, he's
Now,
not...
why? Why would he get mad? Supporters boxed a few.
Well, because he's throwing strikes, and it looks like they're not strikes. If you can't catch him, you're making him look bad.
Oh, in other words, but he's not going to get mad as long as the umpire calls it a strike.
Oh, no. Oh, yes, he's going to get mad if he calls it a strike and you miss it, sure.
Well, then I know he's mad at Porter twice at least.
It'd be like if you finished the painting and somebody put a mustache on the lady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Painting is still there, but it's marred. They don't like it at all, and I don't blame them. Catchers don't like it.
Hit down the left field line, slicing foul and out of play. Top of the 6th inning at Pittsburgh, the Mets leading 3-0, and Mookie Wilson opened up with a triple. Larry Boa came up and was out on strikes, but Keith Hernandez doubled in Mookie Wilson. So the Mets are leading 3-0. Hernandez at second with 1 out. It's still 1-0 Montreal here in the 6th. And Tim Raines fooled. He didn't quite know what to do at that pitch. Let's take a look at it.
He was undecided, and he just kind of hoped he would foul it off, but it was past him. He swings very late. You can see the ball's by him, and he just wanted to foul it off, but it was too late.
Andujar picks up his 4th strikeout, so that's a big improvement for him. He had 4 and now picks up number 5. As we said, he had 8 strikeouts in his last 4 starts. Not to really take that much away from Andujar as he battles Vance Law, but it should be pointed out that he has certainly been given a lot of runs to work with this year. And I guess it works from year to year. But his 21 victories, the Cardinals have averaged almost 7 runs a game for him. I mean, he's won a game 11-10. He won 2 games where the Cardinals scored 14 runs. Fly ball into left center and deep. McGee and Coleman, and it is McGee. Let's take a picture and go to Len Berman and see what develops.
Well, Vin, at top of the 6th in Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, Keith Hernandez with the double down the left field line, and Mookie Wilson, who had tripled, scores. So it's 3-0 Mets, and that's all for Pirate pitcher Bob Kipper. A pitching change here in the 6th inning. All right, Vin and Joe.
All right, Len, with 2 out, thanks to that long run by Willie McGee, Andre Dawson comes up with the bases empty. Breaking ball and another drive into left center, only they don't have to run this time. Gone. Andre Dawson has a 7-game batting streak, including 7 home runs and 16 runs batted in. What a streak.
And there was no doubt about that one. First pitch, and he just spreads it out. Look at that front foot. He's hitting against that front foot, and he drives it hard. He knows it. Porter knows the awful sound, and it's 2-0 Montreal.
Now, Whitey Herzog, hurt by a man who has hurt a lot of people. I'll tell you what he did to Jim Fry and the Cubs. Andre Dawson had 6 RBIs in 1 inning last week, tying a major league record. And just to finish the story on Andre, his 22nd home run is 86th RBI. One-man gang. 2-0.
Interesting when he plants that front foot. We saw it on the replay how that toe kind of goes out towards the pitcher's mound.
Notice this week we didn't talk about how his knee might buckle. The last time we talked about the knee buckling, and I had that as an inside to look for, he hit a grand slam. Ball 1. That injured knee, which has plagued Dawson throughout his career, originally occurred when he was playing football at Southwest Miami High School, and it has stayed with him. He's only 31, but he's had the knee drained a couple of times, and it's the only question mark. He has all the ability in the world. That'll do it for Hubie. Looked like he might have gone after a bad ball, but at the end of 6, it's 2-0 Montreal. And we will be right back after these messages from your local station. Darrell Porter followed by Andy Van Slyke and then Terry Pendleton, and Joaquin Andujar is down 2-0. You know, since he won his 20th victory, his earned run average in 6 starts is 6.5. And here he is pitching well today, and he's losing 2-0. Darrell Porter has grounded out and flied to right. He was a little embarrassed in the 2nd inning when the Cardinals saw Montreal steal 2 bases that led to a run.
At worst, 2-1 ball game.
That's right. That fly ball by Mike Jorgensen should have picked up Andy Van Slyke from 3rd, but Van Slyke had been picked off. 3-1 the count.
To give Mr. Gullickson a lot of credit, he is pitching a real tough ball game.
He looks like a totally different pitcher than the one who pitched in St. Louis last week.
Right.
Ground, in fact, that's deep to right. And Dawson going to the wall at the track, makes it. We got a final score. Cincinnati not only knocked off Houston 5-2, but heartiest congratulations to Tom Browning, winning his 20th. The first rookie since Bob Grimm of the Yankees in 1954. He's a great young kid, and our heartiest congratulations to him. 20 wins. So the Reds cut it now. It is 5, and it will either go to 4.5 or back to 5.5, depending upon what the Giants do with the Dodgers. We get a report the Yankees trying to stay alive. They won. Let's go to Len Berman.
Thank you, Vin. Here it is, bottom of the 9th at Yankee Stadium. Dave Winfield, who had homered, singles to left. Ricky Henderson scores. The Yankees get 2 in the 9th to beat the Orioles 6-5. So Mr. May delivers in September. Back to you, Vin and Joe.
I'll take the perm right out of Earl's hair.
Mr. May delivers in September. Good one, Len.
Terry Pendleton grounded out, hit into a force play 0 for 2. In fact, didn't George Steinbrenner, he didn't apologize, but he was quoted as saying that was a mistake.
Yes.
He shouldn't have said it. Oh, 0-2 the count to Terry Pendleton. Bill Gullickson leading 2-0 in the 7th inning. There's that overhand jug, and it is pulled foul.
Francona at first base really gave it a good try. He wasn't going to take it for granted, nor was he going to wait for the umpire's decision. He was going to try to make the play and then see what happens. He did get a piece of it, I think. Nope, went over his glove, but he gave it a good try. John Kibler right on top of the play. Well, John's been around over 20 years now.
Oh, yeah, what a lovely man. 0-2 to Terry. The Cardinals, there's John Kibler. Smiling John.
Wonder what his pension plan is now for umpires. 20 years or so.
No.
Al Barlick, I think, was $16,000. He umpired over 30 years.
That's all.
That's all. It's not right. I bet you Kibler's is not more than 20, 25,000. That's a lot of abuse to take for that.
Fastball goes the other way with it, but Tim Raines is there to handle it. So again, equal opportunity. A fly ball to right, a fly ball to center, fly ball to left. And here's another edition of the 7th inning stretch.
Gatorade Thirst Quencher presents the 7th inning stretch. Gatorade.
In Kansas City, the Royals have a reliever who's king of the hill. He's led the American League in saves for the past 3 seasons. For today's quiz, can you name Kansas City's late inning ace? Dan Quisenberry of the Royals set a Major League record in 1983 with 45 saves. Proof enough that the quiz is a tough problem for any hitter to solve. Notching 44 saves last year, the Kansas City Sidewinder figured in 60% of Royals victories. In fact, the quiz compiled 150 saves quicker than anyone in big league history. And that makes Dan Quisenberry one of baseball's hottest firemen.
Toronto 6, Milwaukee 1. Despite the fact the Yankees beat Baltimore 6-5, they lose some ground because the so-called magic number now is 4. And in the words of that wonderful song, the days dwindle down to a precious few.
Yes, that was a wonderful song.
Wasn't that a wonderful song? What about when you caught the songs that they would sing?
Oh, I used to hate it when you do what Porter did, and Murtaugh and Shens were the best. They'd holler, boing, boing.
Well, we'll watch Darrell as he handles that for a strike. 0-1. Terry Francona, followed by Tim Wallach and then Mitch Webster. 2-0 in favor of Montreal. In the 7th, over the mound, but here comes Ozzie. 1 away in the 7th inning. By the way, Andujar is due to bat 3rd when the Cardinals come up in the 8th inning. No one throwing in the bullpen yet, but he's on thin ice, certainly. Tim Wallach walked, stole second, took 3rd on Porter's overthrow, and scored on a single by Webster. Wallach last time up hit the ball hard, lined out to right. Well, Gullickson has really pitched a gem. He's retired 9 in a row since the single by Tommy Herr that took the bad hop over the glove of Terry Francona. So the Cardinals are up to their hips against a right-hander who's very much on his game. That's in there. There he is, Bill Gullickson, trying to win his 14th. That wicked sidearm pitch, ball 2.
You know, with that center field shot, Davidson, the umpire, really worries me. Usually the umpire gets behind the catcher or he puts his hands behind his back to protect himself. Watch what he does with them. He clasps his hands, but he keeps them in front right there.
Bouncer slowly, and it'll be Pendleton. Sidearm and got him.
Andujar really took a tough spill. He's a little slow getting up.
Might have skinned his pitching hand on the rug as he came off the mound. He did. That's a thing when you slide on AstroTurf. Watch Andujar. If he does burn his hand on the rug, sometimes they get fibers embedded in the skin, and unless they pick all the fibers out, you get the nastiest infection you ever saw. So they'll have to watch him, even though it looked like a harmless skid. 2 down. Mitch Webster singled in a run and walked. Two out in the 7th. To look ahead, the Cardinals have Mike Jorgensen, Ozzie Smith, and Joaquin Andujar. Cardinals, in case you wonder, have been shut out 13 times this year. One and one. Joaquin, 21-9, 0-1 against Montreal, but 14-5 lifetime. That's his best lifetime against any team in the league. 1-2. Fastball outside, so he went with it and cracked his bat.
Well, I tell you, that shot, that Davidson behind the plate, he worries me. I've been worried about him the whole game. He is really wide open for a nasty crack. If he gets it on the hands, it's just broken. There's no other way of putting it.
When he clasps his hands, he tries to keep them behind Porter's back.
Only on the inside pitches,
Yeah.
though. When you watch him on the outside pitches, he's just wide open. I know that's the way he's been doing it, but the inside protector, you'd think he'd get those hands back there where he wouldn't get it. Now, if this ball's on the outside part of the plate, the center field shot really shows it to you.
There are the hands. 2-2. I always told that, I remember Babe Pinelli telling this 100 years ago, the most embarrassing thing for an umpire is to have a foul ball hit him on the right hand. The reason being that if it hit him on the right hand, it meant he was calling the pitch before it actually got to the plate and the hand was exposed.
Right.
3-2. 2 down, Webster at the plate. 2-0 Montreal in the bottom of the 7th. Oh, look at that. A drive to center, and McGee on his mule. So they're gone in order are the Expos in the 7th. And at the end of 7, 2-0 Montreal with Jorgensen, Smith, and Andujar due up. Joe, I was following your thinking on that last pitch. I said, oh, look at that, and that's what I meant.
He's wide open. Look how wide open on the outside pitch. A foul tip, you can see the hands exposed. Could take a nasty crack.
Meanwhile, in the 8th inning, Mike Jorgensen, followed by Ozzie Smith, and perhaps a hitter for Andujar, Todd Worrell, begins to loosen up down in the Cardinal bullpen. Jeff Reardon, the ace for Montreal, who might have made a difference in the recent series in St. Louis, but couldn't pitch because of pulled groin muscle, though Reardon is up. Strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mike Jorgensen. Remember, he sent Andre Dawson up against the fence in the 2nd inning. Loops 1 foul out of play.
When you say loop, it reminds me, Jorgensen has a loop in his swing called a hitch. If you're hitting 250 or under, it's a hitch. 270 or above, it's a trigger mechanism.
Style, baby.
That's what it is. Now, you just judge for yourself.
1-2 the count to Mike Jorgensen. 2-0 in favor of Montreal. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Fouled away. Steve Braun, the #1 pinch hitter, left-handed for the Cardinals, is moving around with a bat and a helmet. Gullickson has been brilliant. He walked Tommy Herr in the 1st inning. And that's his only walk up to here. He's retired the last 12 in a row. Drive to right center, but Webster has it. Now, in the 6th inning, remember we said it was an equal opportunity inning. The outs went to left, to center, and to right. In the 7th inning, we said it was an equal opportunity inning because the outs went right, center, and left.
And before this inning started, you said he's going to begin with the fly ball to center and then go to left and right. So you're on the track.
I'm 1 for 3 here.
That's right.
Let's see if he keeps going. Well, here's Ozzie Smith. Strike. That's 13 in a row retired by Bill Gullickson. Looked inside to me, Ozzie just said. 0-1. Fouled away. So he has Ozzie 0-2, and Steve Braun is on deck.
And of those 10 outs, 8 of them been in the air, which indicates a pretty good fastball, which is quite a bit different than last Saturday when he was throwing that big lollipop curveball.
Yeah, he really is different. 4 runs, 5 hits, and 5 innings last Saturday. And today he's really been taking charge. Well, that's a looper to left center for a base hit, and it breaks the string. So after 13 in a row, Ozzie slaps an 0-2 pitch. And now that'll bring up Steve Braun, who has been a very successful pinch hitter. He is 10 for 24. And we'll check him. He has 11 hits, including a home run and 5 RBIs. His home run beat the Dodgers. Montreal leading the Cardinals 2-0 in the 8th inning. With 1 out, Braun hitting for Andujar. In Pittsburgh, R.J. Reynolds struck out. Johnny Ray popped up. Sid Bream doubled and was wild pitched to third. Mike Brown walked, but the catcher, Tony Pena, popped out. So at the end of 6, it continues Mets 3, Pirates nothing.
Ozzie Smith at first base has a tremendous lead. In fact, he's got his front foot, his right foot, way up on that artificial surface. Not that you expect him to run because you want to give Braun a chance, but he's thinking about breaking up that double play, which will be the inning wrecker. That lead.
1 ball, 1 strike. 1 out. That's a strike. 1 and 2. I tell you one thing that appears differently. I remember last Saturday they were saying how Gullickson used to throw a slurve, half curveball, half slider, but then he gave it up and he went to the big overhand curve. Looks to me, at least on that last pitch or two, that he might be trying to throw a few sliders today.
No trick pitches. Everything has been hard.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
1 and 2. And there goes Ozzie. Fastball missed. The throw is late. So Ozzie is 2 for 2 in stolen bases. The Cardinals have stolen 3. But, of course, the biggest play of the game, Van Slyke picked off third base.
It's a big stolen base. Head first, he makes it easily. Throw high, tag late. Keeps away from the double plays in scoring position, true, but getting there, you stay away from that double play.
You know, the league really ran on Mike Fitzgerald, and Rogers, an ex-catcher, is convinced they were able to run because of Fitzgerald's bad right knee. Ground ball, smothered foul by Francona. In other words, as a catcher catches the ball, Buck was saying you have to begin to turn, and there's a lot of weight on that knee as it torques, and Fitz couldn't do it. And Rogers said now that they had the arthroscopic surgery on Fitzgerald, he should be much stronger behind the plate defending against stolen bases next year.
The good throwers, you watch them, they're actually in motion as the ball is coming towards the plate. Today we've seen it the other way, where Porter waited until he caught the ball and actually off balance.
Boy, though, you can really get hurt, can't you, coming up out of that crouch if the batter fouls it and you're trying to, well, you're exposed to get ready for the throw. 2 and 2. Fastball is hit to straightaway center, and Webster is there. Ozzie goes to the bag, tags, but he's going to hold. And look at that nice throw. He hit the cutoff man, Hubie Brooks. So Braun, a fly ball to center. Meanwhile, the Dodgers leading the Giants 2-1 in the 5th inning. Cincinnati already won. The Dodgers leading by 5.5, and the number over there is still 5.
While we're having a little meeting, just a thought. Ozzie Smith's move at second base was a good move. He wasn't going to come over, but he made it look so good that Webster had to make a good throw, and you do find out about Webster's arm. It's just a little thing you might learn, but it's better than just jogging off the base as if to say, I'm not going anyhow. Why should I put out the effort?
So with 2 down, Vince Coleman at the plate. He's 0 for 3 and slices it to left field, but Raines is there to handle it. So 9 outs have been fly balls. Ozzie Smith is left at second at the end of 7.5. It remains 2-0 Montreal. Tomorrow, the NFL on NBC. Starting with NFL 85 at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. First game of the doubleheader. Well, some will see the Raiders at New England. Others, Seattle at Kansas City. And then Indianapolis and the Jets, Cleveland, San Diego, Miami at Denver. All tomorrow, right here on NBC. A reminder, this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. One of the finds of the year for Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals, Todd Roland Worrell, W-O-R-R-E-L-L. Todd is from Arcadia, California. He went to Maranata High School, Biola University in La Mirada. And along the way, he participated in Little League, Pony League, American Legion programs, and he has been the find of the year for the Cardinals. I would rank 3 young, virtually unknown relief pitchers who have come of age this year. The Yankees, Brian Fisher. The Mets, Roger McDowell. And the Cardinals, Todd Worrell. And he'll be pitching to Sal Butera. Fastballs and a hard slider. And Razor Shines is out on deck, so they're going to take Gullickson out and go to their ace, Jeff Reardon. A drive into left center field and deep. McGee and Coleman. McGee, he is everywhere.
That's what Whitey Herzog talks about. If it stays in the park, he will catch it. And one of the things he does, he makes the play look so easy. That ball was really tattooed. I know guys that would do half gainers and bounce up against the wall. He just catches the ball, stops himself, and says, here's one out. He made that look so easy, and that was a tough play.
And Whitey Herzog, who says it's the best defensive outfield anywhere, anytime. And there's just another witness on the stand. Here now is Razor Shines hitting for Gullickson. First ball swinging, lifts it into right center. Andy Van Slyke's turn.
You know, just a footnote on Willie McGee and his relationship with Whitey Herzog. Whitey said when he came up, he told him, he said, look, just go in the outfield during batting practice and practice catching the ball off the bat in the different ballparks so you learn them. He said 6 years later, he's still doing the same thing.
Still doing it.
And Willie, when you ask him, he said, well, nobody told me to stop.
What a player. Well, the last 6 Expos have gone down since Andre Dawson put the slug on Andujar. Andujar, by the way, went 7 innings and pitched very well. He allowed only 2 runs and 3 hits. Foul ball.
Andujar made 95 pitches, Vin, 64 strikes, and 31 balls. Gullickson, 113 pitches, 39 balls, 64 strikes.
Boy, that would be a tough defeat for Joaquin to take. He would be 21-10 after having pitched so well. But as we said, coming on the air, the Expos, for whatever reason, they play the Cardinals as tough or tougher than anyone. And here, if Montreal wins today, they will have beaten the Cardinals 6 out of 7 times at Olympic Stadium. Well, that's a lot of times to beat a good ball club. Whew. Right. 1-2. There they are, the Expos of '85. It's been a disappointing year. Without Charlie Lee, without Joe Hesketh, they might have really made some noise, but injuries got them. 1-2. Fouled away, protecting the outside part of the plate.
You can hardly see that ball go off the bat.
Yeah. The last game that Todd Worrell pitched, he appeared briefly, and in that game he made 15 pitches in relief. He threw 14 fastballs that were all clocked over 91 miles an hour, and he threw 1 slider that was 85, and that was it. So he really can get that thing up to the plate in a hurry. 1-2. Well, he showed him a pretty good fastball.
You could hear it way up here hit that mitt.
Sound like a shotgun.
When you stack lumber at the lumber yard, those boards keep hitting.
Todd with his wife Jamie making a trip with him. Nice boy. Breaking ball, and it's a one-hopper pulled inside first and down the line. And Raines is going to let it out. He's going to go for 3. And the relay, it'll be 3. On Tim Raines. Now watch that ball go by. It was a breaking ball, and he was able to pull it. And the watch that we have here has Tim Raines going all the way to third in 11.04 seconds.
11:04. He made sure he was hitting that bag at the right stride. You can see him kind of do a little bit of a dance step as he got to second base.
Yeah, he actually, I think, took a beat, slowed just a tad, just to make sure he wouldn't overrun it or miss it. Now it's up to Van Slaw to pick him up. Ball 1. 2-0, Montreal. When the Cardinals come up in the 9th inning, if you're not keeping score, they have Willie McGee, Tommy Herr, and Darrell Porter's spot. And, of course, Among others, they have Cesar Cedeno in the dugout, available for pinch hitting duties, but I don't believe Jack Clark. Clark's ribs are too sore.
Overthrown it and digging himself a hole, because you know who's coming up next is Mr. Dawson.
2 balls, no strikes, now 3-0. Law struck out twice and fly deep to center today. Right. In the 7th inning, the Pirates didn't do anything, as you see Raines at third. Morrison flied out, Khalifa walked, Allman grounded to first. There was a force play at second. Orsulak grounded out. At the end of 7, Mets 3, Pittsburgh nothing. Uh-oh now. The big guy coming up with runners at first and third.
Now you're talking about strength against strength. A good fastball hitter against a fastball pitcher. And Dawson jumped on the first pitch at Endahar through in the 6th inning and hit a tremendous home run. And you can bet that he's going to be ready to gun another one if he gets his pitch.
Andre Dawson, and remember those impressive numbers, a 7-game hitting streak with a double, 7 home runs, 16 runs batted in, and 8 runs scored. And Tim Burke gets up. Meanwhile, the big RBI guy's on deck, Hubie Brooks.
Oh, was he looking fastball?
He was going to hit that to Goose Bay.
Oh, if nothing else, he's as loose as he's ever going to get. Every button in that shirt popped loose. Look at this. He starts that thing, and I mean, he had himself a Sunday cut.
Oh, well, that's reducing it to the fundamentals. 0-1. Foul back out of play. 0-2. So actually, Worrell throwing as hard as he can, Dawson swinging as hard as he can, and the count is 0-2.
This is where strategy just goes right out the window. He's got to beat you on your best pitch, and it's a fastball. He's a fastball hitter. Who is the stronger of the two?
0-2. All fastball. Remember, the one ball that was drilled was the breaking ball in on Tim Raines. 1-2 to Andre Dawson.
Look at those eyes.
Fastball, and it's hit to right field. Van Slyke backtracking makes the play. So the Expos leave a runner at first and third, and at the end of 8, time's running out on the Cardinals today in the first game. It's 2-0 Montreal. 9th inning, 2-0 in favor of Montreal, and the Major League Baseball game of the week has been brought to you by light beer from Miller, everything you've always wanted in a beer, and less by Ford, who invite you to drive the new Ford Aerostar. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Moog Cargo Coils, the car springs that smooth the road and carry the load. And by Castrol Motor Oil, engineered for smaller cars. Jeff Reardon, who might have had a tremendous impact on the pennant race had he not been hurt, is now pitching, and McGee, first ball swinging, flies to center, 1 away. If Reardon had not had the severely pulled groin muscle, it would not be unreasonable to say the Expos would have beaten the Cardinals 2 out of 3. But they didn't have him. Now, as you can see, with 36 saves, he's trying to get another. And he has a clause in his contract. The clause is worth $100,000 if he wins the Relief Pitcher of the Year award. For the Cardinals, in a big ballpark, it's a kiss of death. All they've been doing is hitting fly balls. They have had 10 straight outs on fly balls. The last time a ground ball was hit was in the 5th inning, and it was by Andujar. So they're wasting them, just sending flares in the air. Tommy Herr walked, single, fly to right. 2-0. So with the Mets winning in Pittsburgh, Reardon is trying to, an ex-Met, is trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead for Montreal. That could cut the Cardinal lead to 3.5, and then, of course, there's a second game to be played here. It would revert to 4 or 3, depending upon the outcome. Then the Cardinals play the Expos here again tomorrow, and then go home for the confrontation with the Mets. So this is a pretty important game, and especially a frustrating game as you look at Joaquin Andujar and Cesar Cedeno. And that's popped up foul and out of play. Cedeno commiserating with Andujar, who pitched pretty well. But Joaquin, first of all, saw Van Slyke picked off third in the second inning, and that cost him a big run. Montreal got a run in the second. Finally had the home run by Dawson, and that's it. And as well as Andujar pitched, it went down the drain. And seeing Cedeno sit there, you also know Cedeno is not being considered as a pinch hitter with Porter and Van Slyke, left-hand hitters due up. Now Reardon has one problem. Because he suffered that pulled groin muscle, he has worked once in about 2 weeks. And it's hard to just come in and throw strikes. 3-2. Foul back. In the 8th inning at Pittsburgh, Wally Bachman flied to left. Ray Knight grounded to short. Gary Carter grounded to short. So the Pirates come up in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Mets 3 and the Pirates nothing. There's Darrell Porter and Andy Van Slyke, left-hand hitters back-to-back. Three and 2 to Tommy Herr. And he walked him, and that means the hitter becomes a potential tying run, and the Wolves begin. Gullickson in 8 innings did not allow a run. He allowed 4 hits and 1 walk. Gullickson only struck out 1. And now here is Darrell Porter. Grounded to first, twice flied to right. So he pulled Gullickson all 3 times. Ball 1. Montreal 2, the Cardinals nothing, top of the 9th inning. Jeff Reardon trying to get the last 2 outs. And he can't find the plate. 2-0. They are booing a man with 36 saves. And Buck Rogers chewing and spitting. Ball 3, and there is no one throwing, at least for the moment, in the Expo bullpen. And Sal Butera going out to talk to Reardon. The Cardinals, you remember last week, won 4 in a row that they pulled out in the most exciting manner possible. The count. In there. 3-1. So standing at first, Tommy Herr, and they're not holding him. Francona is busy guarding the line. High fly ball is another tombstone, another grave marker for the Cardinals in this game. 11 fly ball outs. And with 2 down in the 9th inning, Whitey Herzog has Andy Van Slyke at the plate. Well, you folks who have been watching the Mets-Pirate game, you've certainly come at the right time. The Expos leading 2-0, top of the 9th, 2 out. Tommy Herr walked. Jeff Reardon is pitching the 9th inning, trying to nail it down. So a former Met is pitching for Montreal with Tommy Herr at first and the potential tying run, Andy Van Slyke at the plate. Breaking ball miss. Ball 1. Reardon, who did not pitch in St. Louis, and he might very well have aided and abetted the Met cause there. Came in to pitch the ninth for Bill Gullickson, who was magnificent. Went 8 innings, allowed 4 hits and no runs. 2-0, and he is pitching backwards in the inning. McGee, first ball hitting, flied to center, but then he walked Hurd. He fell behind 3-0 to Porter and eventually got him, and now he's behind 2-0 to Van Slyke. And he's behind 3-0. On deck is Terry Pendleton. Terry is 0 for 3. Missed again, so he is really struggling. Reardon with 36 saves, but sidelined because of a pulled groin. Missed almost 2 weeks and was brought back just once in that period, and it's evident. Buck Rogers going out to talk to him. Tim Burke was up last inning throwing behind him, and all Rogers evidently doing was coming out to pump him up a little bit. No question of taking him out. So 2 on, 2 out, and Terry Pendleton coming up. Tommy Hurd second, Andy Van Slyke at first on the tying runs. Montreal has already beaten the Cardinals 5 out of 6 times here in Canada, trying to make it 6 out of 7. And remember, this is the first game of a doubleheader. Dan Schatzeder and Bob Forsch are due to go in the nightcap. Pendleton grounded to second, hit into a force play and flied to left. 0 for 3. Strike. Well, Joe, I know you're down on the field. Butera's job is to hold that target for him.
That's about all he's trying to do is settle him down. Reardon appears to be throwing hard, but as you've been pointing out, he's just wild. But he's got good stuff, and it is hard to pick up that ball, Vin.
0-1. Fastball in there. So at this time of day, where the lights don't take effect, it is 5:45 local time. A fastball would seem to be $1 million pitch, and it has accounted for a lot of fly balls today. So Reardon staying with the heat, and the count 0-2 on Terry Pendleton. Fastball 1-2. Who walked at second, Van Slyke at first. The Cardinals lost a run in the second inning when Andy Van Slyke was picked off third. The Expos scored on a walk, a stolen base, and a single by Webster, and a 6th inning home run by Andre Dawson, and that's it. 1-2. Fastball got him swinging. And so it's up to the Mets now to narrow the gap. For 6 out of 7 times, Montreal has beaten St. Louis here in the Big O, and this is the first game of a doubleheader. Joe Garagiola, this has been Scully, and we'll be back here at Olympic Stadium after these messages.